Okay, let's talk about something you probably have sitting on your shelf right now, the scented candle. Seems pretty simple, right? A wick, some wax. But what if I told you that behind that little flame, there's a whole world of science, history, and a seriously massive global industry? Let's dive in. First things first, let's just look at the numbers. By 2030, the global candle market is expected to be worth, get this, over $20 billion. That's billion with a B. So yeah, this is way beyond just a few people wanting their living room to smell nice. We're talking about a huge industry built on what most of us think of as just a simple little decorative object. Which, of course, leads to the big question, right? In our world of smartphones and LED lights, a world of digital everything, why on earth is this ancient piece of tech more popular than ever? It doesn't quite add up at first glance. And the answer? Well, it's way more interesting than you'd expect. So here's how we're going to break it down. We'll look at how the candle made its big comeback, dive into the actual science of scent, get into the nitty-gritty of what makes a good candle, and, I'll even share some tips on how to master the perfect burn. All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, a modern renaissance. We're going to trace how the candle went from being a basic tool for survival to a straight-up symbol of modern wellness. I mean, for thousands of years, candles were just about one thing: light. Pure utility. You used animal fat or beeswax just so you could see in the dark. Then the Industrial Revolution comes along and makes paraffin wax, which made candles way cheaper for everyone. But here's the crazy part: the invention of the electric light bulb. You'd think that would be the end of candles, right? Nope. It was actually its salvation. Because it was no longer needed for light, the candle was free to become something else, something more. It became a luxury item, a way to set a mood, and now a key part of our self-care routines. And that's our cue for Section 2, the science of scent. Because that wellness thing, it's the real engine behind the candle's popularity today. And it's not just about making your apartment smell like vanilla, it's about how that fragrance literally influences your brain. So how exactly does this brain hack work? Well, it all comes down to a part of your brain called the limbic system. Think of it as your brain's emotional headquarters. Now here's the key. Every other sense, sight, touch, hearing, they all have to go through a bunch of processing and filtering before they reach this emotional center. But your sense of smell? It has a direct VIP express lane, an unfiltered hotline straight to the part of your brain that handles emotion and memory. That's exactly why a certain smell can just zap you back in time, isn't it? Like fresh cut grass or that perfume your grandma wore. And this direct connection has some really powerful, measurable effects. Scientific studies show that certain smells can do some pretty incredible things. A lavender scent can actually induce calmness and relieve anxiety. Others can improve your sleep quality, trigger nostalgic memories, and some can even help lower blood pressure. So when you light a candle, you're not just, making a room smell good. You're actually using a legitimate wellness tool. Okay, so you're sold on the power of scent. But what actually separates a great candle from a mediocre one? Well, it all comes down to understanding its basic anatomy. So let's deconstruct it and look at the key elements you really need to know about. And it all starts with the wax. This is really the big debate. On one side, you've got paraffin. It's super common because it's cheap and it holds fragrance really well. The downside? It's a byproduct of petroleum and can release some not-so-great toxins when it burns. On the other side, you have plant-based waxes, like soy. It's renewable, it's biodegradable, and it burns a lot cleaner, which is why it's become the favorite for a lot of eco-conscious folks. And you can see how this plays out in the market today. Paraffin is still the king, mainly because of its low cost. But just look at how much space soy and even beeswax are taking up. As more of us start paying attention to sustainability and what we're actually breathing in at home, these natural waxes are definitely closing the gap. All right, next up, the vessel, the jar. And this is about way more than just aesthetics. Obviously, it's got to be heat-resistant and non-porous. That's just safety 101. But here's a pro tip that'll save you a lot of wasted wax. Look for a jar with straight sides. If the jar gets narrower at the bottom, heat can get trapped as the flame burns down, and it can actually cause the glass to crack. Plus, straight sides just help the candle burn more evenly. And now for what might be the single most important term in the world of candles: throw.
You've probably experienced this. Ever buy a candle that smelled amazing in the store, but when you lit it at home, nothing? You could barely smell it? Well, that's all about its throw. It's just a simple term for how well a candle's fragrance fills up a room.
And throw actually comes in 2 different flavors. There's cold throw, that's the scent you get when you just pick it up in the store and sniff the unlit wax. But the real test, the one that truly matters, is the hot throw. That's how strong the scent is while it's actually burning. A fantastic cold throw can sometimes trick you, but a strong hot throw, that's the signature of a really well-made quality candle. You know, the really great luxury candles deliver that hot throw almost like a story, unfolding in 3 acts. When you first light it, you get those bright, zesty top notes, like citrus. That's your first impression. Then, as the wax pool melts, the middle notes, the real heart of the fragrance, start to come through. And finally, once it's fully heated, you get those deep, rich bottom notes, like amber or musk, that anchor the whole experience. That scent journey is the mark of a really complex, well-crafted fragrance. Okay, onto our final section. You've picked out the perfect handle, you know your wax, you've checked the vessel, you're hoping for a great hot throw. So how do you make sure you get every penny's worth? It's all about mastering the perfect burn. And honestly, it all comes down to 3 super simple rules. Rule number 1, trim your wick to about 1/4 of an inch before every single use. This stops that black smoke and keeps the flame from getting too wild. Rule number 2, and this is crucial, that first burn is everything. You have to let it burn long enough for the melted wax to reach all the way to the edges of the jar. This prevents tunneling. And rule 3, don't burn any candle for more than 4 hours at a time. It's a safety thing, and it also preserves the candle. This is what you're aiming for. See that? A clean, flat, even pool of melted wax that goes from edge to edge. When you achieve this, you're not just stopping that awful tunneling effect where the wax builds up on the sides, you're also maximizing your hot throw. Why? Because you have the biggest possible surface area of hot, melted wax, releasing all that beautiful fragrance into the air. And of course, we have to talk about safety because this stuff is non-negotiable. Always burn your candle in a well-ventilated space. Keep it away from drafts, curtains, pets, kids. You know the drill. Never ever leave a burning candle unattended. And a little tip for preservation, store your candles in a cool, dark, and dry place to protect the wax and the fragrance oils. Now, if you really want to get next level with this, you can start being intentional about where you place your candles. Ancient practices like Vastu Shastra actually link specific scents to different energies and directions in your home. So for instance, you might place a calming lavender scent in a space for meditation in the northeast, or an energizing cinnamon scent in a more active zone in the southeast to promote vitality. It's a pretty fascinating way to combine the science of scent with intention. So when you really boil it down, the journey of the candle is pretty incredible. It truly has gone from a tool for survival to a symbol of luxury. And in the process, the simple candle has become a flame that lights our inner world. It's not just about seeing anymore. It's about feeling. So the next time you light a candle, maybe just take a second. Think about the history, the science, and the intention you're setting with it. You know, in a world that's just full of digital noise and blue light, maybe this tiny, ancient flame is exactly the kind of technology we need more of. The only question left is, what's it going to illuminate for you?